moved them to tried moving them to different stages of the whole production, like put them onto different roles to give them new teams, to try and experience new situations. Ultimately, we went through the 3 strikes and you're out thing, and I went through that very quickly because I didn't want that behavior poisoning the rest of the workforce. But being the owner's nephew, I was met resistance on actual implementation of the strategy of letting this person go. Because ultimately, that's what should have happened, and then wound up happening in the later stage of the games where the problem just became way too large to avoid. So from the very beginning, it came out as this person, I believe, didn't have the confidence to be in the role they were in. So we put them in a role where they didn't belong. And so they were worried that they were going to lose their job from that. So what did they do? Of course, they stole other people's ideas. They made other people look bad to make themselves look better. A lot of the situations that were discussed in the forums, and would pressure and force others, employees, to work in ways that they weren't comfortable. I'm trying to be as specific as I can without being too specific. But so you see where this problem stemmed from, obviously. So it was our fault. We had to look inside that we put this person in the wrong situation. And it never should have happened from there. We should have corrected it immediately. Maybe some more courses such as this, and actually train this person to be an effective leader. But we didn't do that. And we kept ignoring the problem. We kept on letting it fester, and it kept on growing. So it came to the point, the next stage of the game, where we went to, we'll skip a couple of steps. So I tried to move him to a new team to where he'd be more accountable for specific performance levels. Before, it was more qualitative, that he could just say, yes, we're doing great, or yes, everything's going well. And I couldn't prove one way or the other. I couldn't get the math to prove that, no, actually your performance is poor. So I put him in a whole new department and area where the numbers were a lot easier to gather and a lot easier to benchmark against previous numbers, which helped for a little bit. Showcase the numbers, and he improved in that, improved those areas, improved those numbers. And then what happened is he found other ways, sort of like the 3 steps you were speaking of, improved for a little bit, and then came back to a new problem after that. So then the sexual harassment issues came, where he was bullying his employees. I don't know if there was ever any sexual harassment or not. That was never proven, but he bullied his employees for sure, and that became more qualitative again. So in that situation, I had to move. I communicated with all the other employees, because I realized that we weren't, as a company, actually going to do anything about it, unfortunately. So to protect my fellow employees, I had to communicate with all of them and go very face-to-face, very personal, and say, this is what's going on. I'm watching very closely. If there's anything that happens whatsoever, please come to me immediately, because we've broken their trust. So one of the things I had to still maintain the trust of the employees that were working in the plant, and still have to deal with the fact that this person's still here destroying that trust. So I had to become very personal myself and bring it all around to the actual line level employees, and let them know that I was there no matter what. Push comes to shove, if it got insane, I would go above and beyond the CEO and go to, labor laws myself, which gave them the confidence and the trust that they could come to me with that. So I knew that no one was unsafe, I guess is a good way to put it. Then from that, we still didn't do anything about it, which we should have. And finally, we got to a point where he was involved in a time theft ring, which was finally the point where upper management leadership would finally actually act on it, because he was actually stealing from the company. So that was an example of not dealing with the problem immediately. It could have been a very small problem, like I said at the beginning. It would have just been a very simple conversation, or a very simple movement of position from putting him into a place where he was more comfortable. Got all the way to sexual harassment, all the way to time theft. So the point in that story is just basically trying to make sure that you capture the issue immediately when it's still a small problem. And that goes back to gathering all the facts immediately, being aware, being out there, and making sure that you're gathering all the facts and all the people to stop the problems before they fester. Another problem employee was...
Sorry, Darren.
Yeah, sorry. That's okay.
Oh, man. That's really, it's a really great story. Yeah. And I'm just wondering if anybody has some response to it.
Sure, please.
Is that okay?
Yeah.
Sorry, what time theft was that?
Team anymore. If they want to pay him for hanging out, sitting around, it's your money. go ahead. I finally accepted that and said, yeah, just go ahead, but it's not affecting the rest of my team. So I just eliminated him from the whole thought process. And that's the only way I could, stop him from being a cancer.
That was a really effective way of dealing with an extremely difficult and common situation.
Yeah. When you have absolutely no choice, I mean, you have no choice. I mean, they're never going to fire him, so you still have to find a way to make it work. And I mean, I don't think everyone has the exact same situation, but everyone has very similar situations where I just don't have the power to do this, so I can't really fix this. So how am I going to fix this? Yeah. Painting a house with a hammer. So that was one that I don't feel was successful, only because we weren't able to help him in the end. Another one that was a little bit better was same sort of situation, actually very similar situation. Long-term employee, got to a supervisor level probably before he should have, got there because he was the only one still there from day one, so he was the only one left, so we promoted him, and complained all the time. Everything was terrible, everything was horrible, was the negative employee. And exactly what the textbook says, we created a social committee and put him in charge of it. So that, we directed all of his energy and all of his efforts to going, okay, well, if you're going to complain about the problems, you're complaining about yourself. So it gave him the responsibility and accountability for fixing the problem before dealing with me on it every day, 2 or 3 times a day, telling me how horrible things are. I could just turn around and go, okay, well, so what are you doing about it? And then he got to the point where he concentrated more on the solution than the problem. So that one was a lot more successful because that gentleman is still there today, and it's an amazing, amazing captain of the social committee and has done wonderful things for it. So 2 different aspects where maybe somehow if we could have got the other individual into a more situation where they're more comfortable with, they probably would have done a lot better. But this other one, we'll call him John, worked very successfully of using all the passion that he has, because that's why he was complaining so much, because he had so much passion for the company. He'd been there since it started, since the day one, and he loved his job, and he just hated to see anything go wrong. So he used all that energy, all that effort, all that passion into good things. And we had monthly lottery draws, we had barbecues all the time, we had people smiling, we had people having fun, and it became a very structured event for him, which also helped grow him professionally because he wasn't as an effective leader before. He became a more effective leader by having these meetings, by planning, by strategizing, by making sure he had enough funds to do this and to do that. So it actually grew him professionally as well as eliminated the problem of him constantly complaining.
How did you find out that he had, such passion for the company? He's just a negative employee and write him off. Like, how come he wasn't,
Conversations. You're absolutely right. Yeah, just to sit down and actually talk to him. It was, I would go to him and go, listen, John, you're constantly coming to me with problems, always coming to me with problems. What is the root of this? It's kind of a 5 why analysis. Why are you complaining to me about this? Well, it's because of this. Well, why is that bothering you? Blah, blah, blah. Why is that? And to the point where, okay, this guy really cares. And this guy loves his job. He's just not being heard. And he's maybe underutilized as well. So let's give him something that's going to motivate him and get him to go forward. And also just the mere physical aspects of you working overtime whenever you wanted to, whenever you had someone to do anything extra, you volunteer immediately and so on and so forth. But getting right down to the root of the problem with him, asking him, how can I help you? I guess is the best way to put it.
Any comments on that story or similar stories you'd like to share?
I like the idea of the conversation. The old GM that I used to work for, the whole management team, if you come to me with a problem, come to me with at least 2 solutions. If you come to me with a problem, I'll send you away to come back with 2 solutions. And then it creates the culture of solving your own problems, but still having an open door where you can go and make sure you're headed down the right direction and aligns with the company's goals and targets.
Yeah, he's doing his job, and that's it. It's the other guys that actually have a passion. If you can discover it and reroute it, just like you did, that's a heck of a strategy.
We were kind of talking about that in our last little group work that we did, talented but difficult. Usually people that are complaining the most, just like you said, they have the most passion, they're just being underutilized. And again, looking inwards, what was I doing to cause this behavior? Well, I wasn't letting this person do stuff. I wasn't letting this person excel. I was holding this person back. Like, that's what I was doing. So that was my problem. No wonder they were trying to seek attention. No wonder they were trying to, get me to listen to them. It's because they had important things to say. They just didn't know how to say it yet.
And it